Good morning, Yankees universe. KOD Nation, stand up. And all you DJs, wake up and get your coffee. Welcome to another episode of the Yankees Morning Brew. This Thursday, October 6th, it is 11:01 a.m. And my people out there in the DJ universe, how we doing? I see we already got somebody in the chat. Eric Wallace, salute, salute, salute. My man Eric Wallace is a diehard Seattle Mariners fan, and I know he's getting ready for the postseason because I'm getting ready for the postseason, and I know you all are getting ready for the postseason. And since the postseason is around the corner, right, I was able to get a doctor's note for my guy Halal, right? Because we needed Halal. We understand how important education is. We get it. We're not promoting to Smith School or anything like that. But my guy Halal, I had to reach out to him and bring him on the show for today's episode. So let's welcome my guy from Backstage Baseball, Halal. Good morning.
What is up? Thank you so much for having me on. So we're actually on a little bit of a vacation here. So my parents, they made like kind of like a brain fart. So we had like holidays yesterday, and we're heading to Los Angeles later today. And so I walked downstairs this morning. It's like 10 o'clock. Just wake up, and my mom's like, "Wait, you could have actually gone to school today." I'm like, "I know, just didn't tell you guys." So I scheduled an interview, so you can't pull back on me. So I try to do every time like my dad or my mom like forgets that I have school. I'll be like, "Can I schedule an interview for here and here and here?" And so they can't pull back because they gave me. So we're good. We're good. We're
Yeah,
chilling. Looking
exactly.
forward to
Mom and dad, if you're listening, please don't pull back out from this interview because I need my guy Halal for this one. But Halal, bro, good morning. Yesterday concluded the season for the Yankees, the regular season. Now the postseason starts. But before we talk about the postseason, let's reminisce and look back at this. 162 games, they're in the books. This summer was a great summer for us, even though August was a bit down or whatever. But from a content creator perspective, Halal, I'm so happy that I met you, bro. And I appreciate the work that you've done. You've been a constant contributor to this channel, to this show. And I just want to first thank you for that. And as well, you're doing your own thing right now, not just with your channel, but with the people you're working with. If you want to let everybody know, if you're comfortable, go ahead, let them know what you've been doing since the last time you've been on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Of course, I always love to come on the show. I don't need thank because I got to give thank yous to Jigger Man and you yourself because it's been a pleasure coming on and starting off your mornings, right? This is how you got to start your mornings. Yeah, chill, talk about some Yankees. So it's always been a pleasure. And whenever I'm not in school, I'll always text Hector. I'll be like, yeah, I'm not in school today. Let's figure something out. So yeah, awesome to be on here again. And it's just cool. We'll find random times throughout the year while I'm not in school or something. And I'll definitely be there to hop on. But yeah, so I'm working for Grunt Baseball now. They're a channel with 15,000 subscribers, and we make content highlights. We're expanding a little. We're going to be doing some live streams for MLB games throughout the postseason. I was talking to Hector. We're going to have like kind of like a K-Rod cast where you have some cool guests lined up, some people working in the MLB broadcasting booths, some guys working for the Yankees, some guys working for us. We have a lot of stuff lined up. So do be sure to check out Grunt Baseball on YouTube. I'll be making highlights, that stuff for that. And then myself, Backstage Baseball, it's been a blast over the past getting to know you. It was a great season, and looking forward to October.
Yeah, man. You can't say it any better. Congratulations for you getting that gig with Grunt Baseball. And hopefully the guys over there treat you well because if they don't treat you well, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna crack some heads to make sure they treating you well over there. But I want to shout out my man Tat in the chat. Pinstripe Chronicles is in the building. What it do? Salute, salute, salute. 3 capital S's. But let's talk about this, brother, because 162 games, they're out the book, right? Michael K tweeted out that 31 years of him calling games came to an end yesterday. 32 would be next season. It was very cryptic. A lot of people at first thought that he was retiring, but he had to reiterate, no, I'm not retiring. I just wanted to put it out there. I've been doing it for 31 years. So congrats to Michael K for 31 years. As basically my entire life. Shout out to DiCatrio in the chat. DiCatrio, what is good, baby? But yeah, when we look back on this season, what's the first takeaways besides Aaron Judge, right? Because that's the obvious one, right? Hello, what's your takeaways from this season?
All right, so first it was very respectful of the Yankees to lose their last 2 games so they can have the winning number at 99 to respect the season of Aaron Judge. But my takeaways were I really like the intriguing what we see from Luis Severino towards the end of the year, and in the first half of the year, he's looked great. Nestor Cortez obviously bounced back, was like a middle, not so great. He came back down to earth, I guess we could call it, but it's definitely good to see that. But yeah, my intriguing thoughts are I really liked what I saw from Judge, obviously, Severino and Cortez. Holmes in the first half. And down the stretch, I'll tell you what I've seen down the stretch. I really like what I'm seeing for Torres down the stretch. Looking forward to October. I'm really looking forward to seeing what we get from Rizzo. That's going to be really exciting to see Loizaga. There's just a lot of pieces. So I was talking with Eric Hubbs of Barstool Sports, and we were saying this lineup has a lot of depth if everyone comes back healthy, especially Benintendi. My main takeaway from this season, except Aaron Judge, is Oswaldo Cabrera. That man is going to be so good one day. And he might even have a leadoff spot in the postseason because I don't think that Judge isn't gonna lead off in the postseason because it was just to get him at bats. And if you want to get him on with runners on base so they don't walk him, let's say, then you have him batting 2, and I think you go Cabrera 1, Judge 2, and then you go Rizzo, Stanton, Torres, Carpenter. I think that's how I line up my first 6. And then having Donaldson as a 7-8 hitter, that's just good. I know I'm not such a big fan of Donaldson, but if he can give you 2 or 3 home runs from the 7 or 8 spot, nobody's complaining.
Yeah, and a lot to take away from what you just said. But let's start off on the simple things, right? Because you brought up Luis Severino. Nestor Cortez and Luis Severino, specifically Nestor Cortez, has emerged as a top of the rotation type of pitcher this season. Yes, Nestor Cortez, he had to take some days off because the innings limits. He this is the first time he's really pitching these many innings in a major league season, so he had to get a little bit of rest. I understand that, but besides that, Luis Severino coming back off an injury. His last game that he had, legit, he ended the 7th inning throwing 100-mile-per-hour fastball up in the zone to end the inning and end his outing. So I think Yankee fans going towards the postseason, we could be confident in those 2 pitchers, Nestor Cortez and with Luis Severino. The question mark is Garrett Cole. That's the major question mark. Is Garrett Cole going to be on? And I was having a conversation with Pete Simonetti. Shout out to Pete Simonetti and NY News. Swing and miss stuff in the postseason, that's what dominates in the postseason. Historically, if a pitcher has swing and miss stuff, if they're a power pitcher, they dominate in the postseason. The finesse pitchers are the ones that struggle. Like, that's why Greg Maddux always struggled in the postseason, right? There's just some pitchers that can't figure it out. But then you look at pitchers like Jeff Suppan from back in the day, that he was able to be a control pitcher and figure out in the postseason. So it's 50-50. So it's yes, Garrett Cole didn't have the best season from a Yankees starting pitcher. I give him that, but at the same time, if he goes into the postseason and he just dominates like Garrett Cole has in the past in the postseason, I think a lot of Yankee fans would just shut up and forget about this regular season and just focus on the postseason and potential World Series title as well. What's your thoughts real quick?
Yeah, definitely. If we have our rotation, probably the best rotation we've had since who did we have in 19? I don't remember, but I think this is definitely our best rotation that we've run out in the postseason in quite a little while, because if we have strong Cole, we have Severino, and we have Cortez. And I'm saying, like, if we play the Rays and the Astros, our friend Frankie Montas has some good numbers against them. No, he doesn't got to start, but you can use him for 2 or 3 innings at the beginning of the game, and that could be a key factor. Let the Yankees get some runs, especially if it's the Astros have some good pitching. So do the Rays. So if you can just put up 2 or 3 runs and let Montas shove for 3 innings, then you can settle with the rest, and you can line up with Herman and Licky and all those guys, and you can settle for a Game 1 victory. Not Game 1, probably a Game 2 or 3.
Yeah. Want a quick shout out real quick. My man Mikey Mazza in the 4 Train Express. Mikey Mazza, what it do, brother? But yeah, it's interesting scenario, right? It's an interesting conversation because when you look at Frankie Montas, right? When you look at the Frankie Montas trade, the best thing to happen from that trade was Lou Trevino coming over to the Yankees and solidifying himself as a trusted arm in that bullpen. That's the best thing that came out of that Frankie Montas deal, because Frankie Montas struggled the entire time. He probably had one good start against Tampa. Besides that, every outing was a struggle for him as a New York Yankee. Could it be injuries? I'm not sure. I think we showed the graphic one time that he's not landing on his plant foot properly. He's throwing the ball. So his mechanics seemed like they were out of wax. Could that be him compensating, not wanting to get injured further? We don't know. We honestly don't know. But when it comes to Frankie Montas, I say toss it up. If it's a situation that it's a game 5 and we need an extra starter, because as you look at it, right, this is how it's set up, especially for the ALDS. You got the first game, then you got a day off. Then you got the second game, and then you got a day off. And then you're playing 3 games straight. And it goes the same way for the NL, for the AL, for the CS series, and for the World Series. So you don't have that many off days in between games. Like when the Yankees won in 2009, right? They relied heavily on CC Sabathia, AJ Burnett, and Andy Pettitte. Those are the 3 pitchers that they were using consistently, right? But back then, those 3 pitchers were able to pitch, I think it was 15 games within a span of 29 days, right? This year, if the Yankees were to use the same formula with Cortez, with Cole, and Severino, it would be 15 games in 19 days. You don't have that many days off in between starts. So it's very important, like you said, to either Tyone or to Frankie Montas gets a start in between an ALDS or ALCS. What's your thoughts on that real quick?
Yeah, definitely. It's very important. You're going to have guys like Herman, Tyone, and Montas step up, and the bullpen's got to be there. Here's how the ALDS lines up. We have game 1, off day. Game 2, off day. So we can use a bullpen game for either 1 or 2, and I think that's a smart idea.
Yeah. Sorry, just checking a text real quick. But one quick second. Shout out to my man Keith Saunders is in the building. Keith, what it do? What's popping, fam? Mikey Mazza says, Hector and Backstage, did you guys get a chance to see my video on the wild card round around my postseason special? I got the first part of the video, Mazza. I got to check the rest of it out. But no, not yet. But
DM it to me. I'm getting a lot of spam on YouTube. So, Fortune, Michael, just DM it to me. I'm hopping on your show tomorrow, so we'll talk about that. So, just DM it to me because I'd love to see it. But YouTube's giving me a lot of unnecessary notifications.
There's been a lot of spam going around lately. Halal, we can say that when it comes to the tube or the U. But yeah, as well, let's talk about it real quick because we got to talk about this bullpen, right? One of the first conversations that we had, Halal, on your channel is when you talked about the Yankees bullpen, right? And you brought it up, bullpen by committee. Whoever's hot at the time, whoever you can ride is who you ride, right? So I think now it's a perfect example that the Yankees need to go with that formula, right? They need to listen to Halal and Backstage Baseball when he brings that up, because now in the postseason, Clay Holmes is a question mark, right? Aroldis Chapman, what's going to happen with Aroldis Chapman? There was reports a week or so ago that the Yankees were going to DFA him, and then Wandy Peralta get injured, and now Aroldis Chapman is back in the bullpen. So what's your thoughts on the Yankees bullpen going forward in the postseason? And ultimately, from 1 to 10, what level is your trust level with the bullpen?
So my bullpen trust level isn't that high right now. I'm not going to lie. So there definitely is a lot of concern to be had with the bullpen going into October, but the main pieces we got to have right. 1, Jonathan Loaizaga. 2, Scott Efros. God, I can't use my fingers here. 1, Jonathan Loaizaga. 2, Scotty Efros. And 3, I need to see Lucas Licky. He's going to be a big contributor, underrated contributor, because he's got to give us innings.
Mm-hmm. Lucas Licky, that's what scares me a little bit, right? Because Lucas Licky, I've said it so many times, right? That's the cab driver at 2:00 in the morning that you don't get in his cab because he just looks kind of scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to Lucas Licky, it's been times this season that he's come up big for us, right? And at the same time, he's done later for goose egg for us. So he's one of those at the end of the bullpen. I shouldn't say the end of the bullpen, but when it comes to the pecking order, he's at the bottom of the pecking order of who we're going to send out there. But like you said, Jonathan Lasagna going forward, I think we can trust him, right? Lou Trevino going forward, we can trust him. Ron Marinaccio, knock on wood, that it was a shin soreness that he had that had nothing to do with his arm or his elbow or his shoulder. So I think we avoided a big injury from Ron Marinaccio, and we could trust him going forward. Besides those three that I mentioned, right? You brought up Lucas Licky. Is there anyone else in the bullpen that you think can emerge as having a good postseason and emerge this postseason as one of the shining stars or a diamond in the rough, as they say?
Lou Trevino, he's big contributor in what happens. Domingo Herman as well. Basically everyone. Sorry, I'm just gonna respond there.
No problem.
So yeah, Lou Trevino, Domingo Herman, I really need to see them be top of the line, and everybody. It's gonna be a team effort in the bullpen, and I'm fully expecting the World Series MVP to just be the bullpen, flat out.
Mm-hmm. Now, also, this is a conversation that Yankee fans we're going to have, but you brought up the possibility of Matt Carpenter coming back and possibly Andrew Benintendi comes back, right? If Andrew Benintendi comes back and he's in left field, where do we play Oswald Cabrera? Because we have to have Cabrera's energy in that lineup. We can't have Cabrera sitting on the bench. We need to have his energy in the field and in the lineup. Where do you put him for a Benintendi? Do you move him to third base? Like, what do you do with Cabrera?
Cabrera. So I think you take Falefa out, you put him at shortstop, and you put Cabrera at shortstop, and then you get Benintendi in left.
Okay, but no Peraza, because that's the next question I was going to ask you.
Peraza, he's making hitting, the roster, not a question.
He's going to be that pinch runner. He's hitting 320. He's hitting 320 right now. He has one home run. Oswald Peraza, he deserves to be at shortstop over IKF. If you look at it, the two, and I'll throw it right to you after this, the two odd mans out, well, I should say the three odd mans out. We know Aaron Hicks shouldn't make this postseason roster, so he better not make this roster. But the odd mans out right now, it could be Donaldson and IKF because we got Cabrera and Peraza. So go ahead, speak on that real quick, Halal.
Yeah, it's going to be a good problem to have, especially when you get Benintendi hopefully back for the ALCS. So I want to see Cabrera lining up at shortstop. And it just, I think that I really like Peraza, very intriguing. So I definitely get like 2 or 3 starts in a series, maybe. Maybe you give Torres a day, Rizzo a day. Just take it easy with Carpenter when he comes back. So I think you could see some interesting opinions here.
Yeah, I get that, but it's it's going to be a great problem to have, like you said, because at the same time, yes, Andrew Benintendi and Matt Carpenter are coming back, but is this Andrew Benintendi that was locked in right before he was injured? We're not sure because he hasn't played baseball almost in a month, more than a month. Same thing for Matt Carpenter.
I'm more concerned about Carpenter.
Yeah, it's been 2 months since Carpenter, has played with us and has been in the lineup. What is he going to do coming back? Because I don't want it to be a scenario. All right, cool. We're going to start game 1 of the ALDS with 2 hitters who haven't hit in almost 2 months combined between Benintendi and Matt Carpenter coming up in key spots. No. I'm just saying hypothetically that if we had a situation that we had Andrew Benintendi and Matt Carpenter in game 1 of the ALDS, do we trust that going forward, being that they haven't both seen at bats? Whether it's the ALDS or the ALCS,
Yeah. It's definitely like it's a very weird situation. This is gonna be one of those weird Octobers that's gonna be. I think it's gonna be mainly Aaron Boone. It's gonna be all Aaron Boone, more than it usually is the manager, because he's got to have to make the right decisions here and there, and he's dug a hole for himself to fall into. Being that he's doing the closer by committee, they were saying on the broadcast. You can't go right with it. You're not going to get credit if they do well, and if they do bad, you're going to be the one that gets blamed, not the reliever that comes in.
Yeah, and my man Tats, he said I can see Carp and Benny on the bench in place of Hicks and Gonzalez. Hey, that's a perfect replacement right there. The one concerning thing, and this is a conversation that we can have: who would you rather not be on the bench, right? Marwin, because obviously we don't want Aaron Hicks, whatever, but Marwin Gonzalez or Tim LaCastro, right? The fact that, we have Oswald Cabrera, who could play basically every position the same as Marwin Gonzalez, I think Oswald Cabrera could take that job as a super utility guy for the postseason. I think we need to have Tim LeCastro's speed on the bench for late game scenarios when we got a pinch run just to get a stolen base. What's your thoughts, real quick?
We also have Peraza who can do that role.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to just add another reliever, I don't know what the regulations are there, but Peraza is Stackhouse says he's equally as fast as the Castro. But obviously you can't lose with having too many speedy guys because going into extra innings, you want to have those guys to come up. Let's say, I don't know, Carpenter gets a hit or Stanton gets a hit, and you don't want Stanton on the bases. But let's say you already used Castro in the earlier innings, then you can go, if Bader's not playing, you can go to Bader, and then you also have Peraza. So you have unlimited. It just works out perfectly because Peraza's a great hitter, so is Bader, and they're going to be contributors. Speed is a big factor.
Yeah. My man Tad said, on my show, I have Gonzalez on the bench for the LDS as a guy that can play infield and outfield. No Hicks in the playoffs. He made sure he capitalized the no Hicks in the playoffs. Bro, I'm gonna be making t-shirts, right? Because Halal, from the last time you came here, start a little sublimation business. Me and my girl, we got some printers here. We got some sublimation printers, and we got some stickers. Look at this, Yankees Morning Brew stickers. So I'll be making some t-shirts or whatever, but that's a line that I have to use for a t-shirt. No Aaron Hicks in the playoffs as well. I have to, get your address. Backstage, you could text me because I got to send you one of these joints because this is what we did for Derek Jeter. I got to send you one of these joints, my guy. But yeah, no Hicks in the playoffs. I'm gonna get that for a t-shirt. And we're gonna be rocking that the entire postseason because Aaron Hicks, even yesterday, you saw it. He bonehead plays in the outfield. Horrible defense in the outfield that allowed 2 runs. It should have been more charged to him, but he only got charged with 1 error. Halal, let's put it to bed. What's your thoughts on Aaron Hicks, real quick? Come on, let us know real quick. And I got you, Tad. I got you, brother.
So it's just weird. It's such a weird situation with Hicks. I don't think he's not gonna make the roster. The question is, what do we do with him in the offseason? I think he can't come back next year. If a guy doesn't care enough about his production that he's going into the offseason, going golfing, chilling with the boys, and he's just like, come on, you can't do that, and you gotta play for the team. And if you're gonna get better, spend the time in the cages in the offseason in the winter, like Aaron Judge does. You think Aaron Judge sits there and golfs in the offseason? No, he works. He works on his swing. So if Hicks wants to be that good, forget about golf for a little bit until he gets.
Yeah, it's Aaron Judge. Credit to Aaron Judge, and we're going to talk about this, but Aaron Judge trains with the high velocity pitch machines during the offseason. So Aaron Judge, he trains off of hitting 102 mile per hour fastball. Those high velocity pitching machines, they can crank it up, I think, to 110 miles per hour. So that's what Aaron Judge is training with. It's like Dragon Ball Z training with 100 times Earth gravity. It's the same thing that Aaron Judge is doing, but he takes his craft serious. Not sure that you haven't been on since then, but you remember when they had the Derek Jeter night at Yankee Stadium? You probably watched and heard me talk about it or whatever. But that day, hello, I kid you not, bro. I kid you not. I got to the stadium with my girlfriend at like 2:30, 3 o'clock. This man showed up at 4 o'clock before the game started. That's not professionalism. You, hello, you at the age that you are right now, you understand preparation and getting to someplace on time and before you're even supposed to get there. So if you're somebody who's Aaron Hicks, who's getting paid $10 million at the end of the game, he's getting paid at the end of the day, he's getting paid $10 million to play a children's game, right? This is literally just for fun. He's getting paid $10 million. And the least you can do is show up early and on time, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, you just got to show that you're putting in work. It's a little ridiculous that you showed up at 4 o'clock. Like the fact that fans are getting there before you, that's just not right. So I have to say that's gotta be a fine at least from the Yankees there. But I don't know. You gotta have guys that want to be. If you don't want to play, don't play. That's
period.
Like Chapman.
Yeah. If you don't want to play, then don't play. There's plenty of people out there that would love to be in the position that you're in right now, getting paid the money you're getting paid to play this game. But let's talk about the lineup now, right? Because you brought something up when you're talking about Aaron Judge. Now, I think Aaron Judge would stay in the leadoff spot, right? Because the Yankees want to get him as many at bats as possible in the postseason. Now I'm gonna ask you this, Halal, because you are a pitcher at the same time. So if you're starting game one of a playoff series, what's more pressure on you, right? Starting the game against Oswald Cabrera, right, as the leadoff hitter, or starting the game by walking Judge because he's the leadoff hitter. Like, what's the situation? Where would you more feel comfortable starting? Pitching against someone else who isn't Judge, or potentially walking Judge? Now you're starting the game with a runner on first, and now you got to focus on the 2, 3, and 4 hitters of a lineup.
It's a good question. If they really do research on Oswaldo Cabrera, if he's sitting from the left side, I'm definitely scared of Cabrera.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have him just leading off a game, he can get you set to the right tone. He can easily put one into the right field bleachers, and he can also just lay down a nice bunt to the left side that gets you a nice speed at first. He can also he does everything. So I think he's going to be an underrated X factor coming into October, because I don't think there's enough research to say on what he's done, because he's been up here for half a season maybe, and I think that I think it'll be he's gonna be an X factor, because he's been great for us, but I don't think that there's enough for pitchers to look at, like what to see, unless you faced him personally.
I think in the month and a half that he's been up here, I think it's like 2 months now, but he already has 6 home runs. You know, he has an OPS that's over 850. He has a 850, 900 OPS. He's good as a rookie. He came up, he answered the call, and the energy. Every place the Yankees had put this kid, he was able to perform. They put him at first base when Anthony Rizzo was out. Well, how many people thought that he was going to do good there? He did every spot you put him in, he did good. Now, the only thing that you could say about the young kids that came up, Cabrera and Peraza, is that they had a couple of blunders on the base paths, right? When it comes to, like, you know, touching second base and coming back. But those are little hiccups that you could live with during the regular season, and it happened in the regular season. So they already are aware of what to look for. So in the postseason, I don't think that's something you have to worry about. But at the same time, in the postseason, one of these young kids, you know, we've seen it throughout baseball's history, it's always some random person that came up and was the X factor in the playoff series. Could Cabrera be the next Randy Arozarena? We don't know, but the energy's there and the possibilities there. What's your thoughts, real quick, of Cabrera being that secret weapon in the playoffs?
Yeah, 100%. I think he's really, really going to give us a lot of production. I know it's a little early to tell, but I think it might be beneficial for him to forget about the switch hitting part and just work on the left side, because I think everyone notices he's a better hitter from the left side than he is the right. So sometimes you see that happen a lot with good players. Cedric Mullins used to be a switch hitter. G-Man Choi. I can go on and list so much more, but I'm telling you, Cabrera, I think that they should strongly consider this offseason just focus on the left side, especially for a rookie like him, and maybe pick it back up later in his career.
Yeah, 100% agree. I couldn't agree with you more, because from the left side, I think this season he's batting. I was trying to find the numbers, but I think it's close to 290. He's batting as a left-handed batter, and like you said, there's been a lot of switch hitters that they just had to focus on one side of the plate. They had to give up the switch hitter. You brought up Cedric Mullins, G-Man Choi, as well as Justin Smoke from back in the days. There's been a bunch of switch hitters. Let's see. What's his name? Oh my God, he was the first baseman for the Mets, and they got rid of him. God, what's his name? Dominic Smith was also, when the Mets drafted him, was a switch hitter, but then they converted him to just bat from the left-handed side. So there's been a bunch of major league players that had to make that transition. And there is an argument for it for Cabrera, but let's see what happens in this offseason. But let's go over the game from yesterday, Halal. I got the stats right here. Let me bring it up. I'm going to put out the Yankees one real quick because they lost. So if you want, you could go down the lineup, and I'll handle the pitching, brother. Hold on one second. Here it is.
DJ LeMay led off. He was at second base. Kind of like a test for him, I guess. He was 0 for 4. Rizzo at first base was 0 for 3. Oswaldo Cabrera in left field was 1 for Josh Donaldson. 0 for 4. He was cleaning up, and he was at third base. Concerning to see coming into October. Peraza over
Mm-hmm.
2. He's shortstop. Jose Trevino put one into left field, 2 for 4. He was DHing. Marlon Gonzalez was in right field, 1 for 4. Kyle Higashioka here on that the Yankees order. Higashioka was catching. He was 1 for 3, and he continues to produce. And it's gonna be good to have two really good catchers coming into the
Mm-hmm.
postseason. And Hicks was 0 for 2 and made some weird blunders out in the outfield.
Yeah. Oh, want to give a quick shout out to my man Frank Rivera. Hey, yo, Frankie. Hope all is well, Frank. Thanks for tuning in. He said, "I love how Cabrera has those instincts." Yeah, and you see it. Cabrera has flat out baseball level instincts. Like it's natural for him. Whatever position you put him at. The other day, when he was at third base and he made that diving play to the left hand side. Come on, man. Like Cabrera, he's going to get a gold glove in his career, multiple, if that. But Domingo Germán was the starting pitcher for the Yankees. He pitched 4 in the third, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, even though honestly I think he should have been charged for 2 of them because of
Yeah,
that misplay by Hicks. Go ahead, hello.
can you get a gold glove at multiple positions in the same season?
That I've never heard of that before, but I wouldn't be surprised because that's what Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge deserves two gold
Yeah.
gloves for the outfield, for right field and center field. But yeah, I'm not too sure. But if anybody could do it, it could be Cabrera. Cabrera could be our version of Ben Zobrist, right? So Domingo Germán, 4 in the third, 7 hits, 4 runs, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. Albert Abreu came back up. He pitched only 2/3, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, and no strikeouts. Miguel Castro, he pitched the inning, gave up no hits, no runs. He walked 2 batters, no strikeouts. Lou Trevino was able to get the ground balls he needed. He pitched the inning, no hit, no runs, no walks, no strikeouts. And then Lucas Licky, the used car salesman, pitched the inning, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, and 1 strikeout. The losing pitcher of record was Domingo, a German Sunday Herman. But over here to Mikey Miles, they said Hicks should have been charged with all those runs. He definitely should have been. He definitely should have been because that was I don't know what he was looking for. It looked like you ever watch or you ever played softball, right? And they
Yeah.
put your friend who never played softball a day and it's like out in right field, and he gets the first pop up and he's just running backwards and falls on his behind. That's what Aaron Hicks looked like last night. But hold on one second, my man Tass said there have been talks of having a utility gold glove along with an all-star spot. Hey, that'll be something
Yeah.
interesting. With a lot of the
Yes.
things that's coming up. Yeah, that would be interesting. What's your thoughts on that real quick, Hello?
Yeah, that's something I've seen a little bit. I think that definitely should be considered by MLB. Yeah, I think that's definitely something that MLB should consider because it's definitely something that is needed.
Yeah, and also as well, I wanted to get your thoughts because I don't think we spoke about it from when baseball announced it, but Major League Baseball announced all these rule changes that are happening for next season. What's your thoughts real quick on the pitch coming bigger? So it's an extra 8 inches. Well, it's less than 8 inches from first to second right now. What's your thoughts on that real quick?
Yeah. So there's obviously the bases being bigger will increase stolen bases and
Mm.
also the pitch clock. I think stolen bases will be up just because with the amount of times pitchers can throw over, with the pitch clock, and with the bases getting bigger, it's just a combination of making many more stolen bases and making the game much quicker. I like it.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be strategy a lot now because you can only throw over twice, right? Twice per inning is the rule that's gonna happen. You can only throw over twice per inning, but pitchers like Garrett Cole, other pitchers are definitely gonna be frustrated next season. It's going to be a thing to watch for next season, especially when they get rid of the shift. What do you think? What's your thoughts about them getting rid of the shift for next year?
I think it's probably a good call to do, but I think some sort of shift, obviously there'll be some sort of shift, but it's it's it is it's it'll be interesting to see how left-handers react to that if they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
because obviously a lot of them are not comfortable laying down bunts for some reason. So I think I'm interested to see if Gallo does better and how that works out.
Because when you look at it, right, the possibility of it's not a possibility of getting rid of the shift, but now teams could gamble a bit more because you could technically still have the shift, but what it is you have to have your two infielders on the second hand side of second base that they got to be on. But you could bring in either the right fielder or the left fielder and just have two outfield. So you could still technically have the shift, but you're gambling more because now you're only having two outfielders instead of the three outfielders out there. So you're just gambling a little bit more now. But like you said, it's going to be interesting to see next year. I'm very intrigued to see what happens with the pitch clock because there's a lot of pitchers that, they're very slow and deliberate to the play. Aroldis Chapman is a perfect example. He's definitely going to struggle wherever he's at next year, depending on, what team he's with, or even if he's with any team next year.
Yeah. There's a lot of pitchers, and it's Storm is going to be all-time high next year, definitely.
Yeah. But let's look over to the Rangers side of things. I'll read off the lineup. Marcus Semien at second base. The big acquisition in the offseason, he was 1 for 4. Nathaniel Lowe, the first baseman, was 1 for 1. Adonis Garcia, the DH, was 1 for 4. Jung, the third baseman, was 1 for 4. Smith, the shortstop, was 1 for 3. Hyam, the catcher, was 2 for 4. He had a bomb of a home run yesterday. Kluberson in left field was 1 for 4. Tavares in center field was 1 for 3. And Bubba Thompson in right field was 2 for 3. That's a great baseball name, Bubba Thompson. Yeah. Go ahead, bro. Read the pitching side of things.
Glenn Otto got the start. I believe he came from our organization, actually.
Mm-hmm. He did. Otto and Smith.
What?
Otto and the third baseman, Smith, not the one who's up right now at shortstop, but the third baseman, Smith, is who they got from us in the Joey Gallo deal.
Glenn Otto, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 5 walks, 2 strikeouts as a rookie. 5 walks, that is not great. Rodriguez came in 1 inning, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 Ks. Santana went an inning, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. And Moore went an inning, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout. Otto got the win, and Moore got the save.
And Moore, that used to be the phenom from the Tampa Bay Rays until he had some arm issues. He was able to find himself back on a major league roster with the Texas Rangers. So hopefully he can stick on and, he has a great rest of his career. But Halal, we got to talk about this also because the last time we was on, the New York Mets had a big lead in their division and they were first in their division. Take me through this. Have you spoken to any Met fans since the collapse? Like, what's your sentiment and what's your thoughts that you gotten from the Met fans that you know?
All right, so I'm so happy because when I get to school, and it's the Yankees do bad in the summer. So I'm like hibernating in my house, and none of my friends got to bother me. I get texts. I'm just like, nah, spam. So I get texts, but I get to school. I'm like, Mets. All my friends are like, don't talk to me. I'm like, I'm not a morning person, but when the Mets are starting and the Yankees are doing well, I become a morning person. So I'm having some fun with some friends, texting with that. Yeah, they're just like, the Mets are better. I'm like, statistically, they're not. Like, they're just not. Like, they're like, well, DeGrom's better than Cole. I'm like, statistically, not right now. He's not. It'll be interesting to see what they can do. But it's awesome to just it's awesome for both New York teams. It's very cool to see them in the playoffs. Obviously, I'm still tremendous Yankees, and I'm gonna hate the Mets until just keep hating the Mets.
Yeah. I can say this, my mom's a diehard Met fan, and I still haven't heard from her since this weekend. She's been ignoring my phone calls on purpose. She'll probably last a couple of more days, and then she'll answer me. She's been posting on Facebook, so I know she's alive. So I know that she's purposely just avoiding me and not answering my phone calls. But yeah, I miss those days.
You tell her to take her to dinner short spot.
Yeah, probably. I do miss those days of being in school and being able to go to school and talk to your friends about what happened in baseball. But it has to be a good time. It's both New York City teams, are both doing good. The Mets, they got 100 wins. The Yankees had 99 wins. So the Mets, they did get that extra win against us if they want to hold that as their little World Series championship. But when it comes to the Mets, you got to tip your hat off. Buck Showalter had a phenomenal season this year. It's just the Atlanta Braves were just so much better. And I think going into the postseason, I know the Dodgers, they have the most wins in baseball, but I'm scared of the Atlanta Braves. Like, I honestly think the Braves could repeat this year. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a big chance for the Braves to do it. They're a very, very good team. Just the only concern is their pitching isn't easy. Obviously, they have the young guys coming up with Strider and Wright, and they also have Freed. So I guess their pitching isn't bad, but it's definitely not the best out there. And pitching wins October. Who do they have in their bullpen? Kenley Jansen. He's there in the back end of the bullpen. He does have experience, but not the most reliable. So I don't know. It's definitely concerning for the Braves that they're a very strong team out there, but I don't know what they can do.
Yeah, okay. So give me just 1 second because I just got this graphic that I want to just put here. Hold on 1 second.
I gotta
As a
turn off my background. It's glitching like crazy. All
hold
right,
on
we're
1 second. All right, so I have this little because now the brackets are set, right? So the postseason is set, right? This is how it's shaping up right now. So you got Tampa Bay and the Guardians, they're facing each other for a wild card spot, right? And the Yankees, they get the winner of that series. Then you got Seattle and Toronto, right, who's facing each other, and then Houston gets the winner of that series, right? So when it
yeah.
comes to Tampa and the Guardians, right, and the Cleveland Guardians, Halal, who do you want the Yankees to face, right? As a Yankee fan, who are you comfortable with the Yankees facing?
Personally, as a fan, I want to see the Guardians just because that's a fun series. I want to see
Hmm.
Bieber. I want to see the rematches there. That's just a fun series as a fan. But as like a Yankee diehard fan, going for the Yankees to win. I think the Guardians are a strong team, and I'd probably rather go the Rays because we have bigger advantages against them. So
Hmm.
it's basically balanced. You can go either way because they both have strong managers. They both have strong lineups. They both have the magic that they can run against each other. The Yankees do have better numbers against the Guardians this season, as they
Hmm.
just plowed on them in the first half, but they became a different team in the second half. So I
Yeah.
don't know. It's definitely balanced agreement, and like this is one of the few times where I actually don't have a real answer.
Yeah, I personally, me, if it was up to me, I would want to see Tampa. I don't want to see Cleveland because, like you said, in the second half, they're a totally different team.
Young,
Um,
energetic
and
team.
and people, you got to remember, Cleveland did this year while rebuilding. They were supposed to be rebuilding this year, right? So
Like
you
the
got,
Rangers
yeah,
last season,
you got
not the
Andres.
Texas Rangers, the hockey team.
The hockey team, yeah, I know. Andres Jimenez, who has emerged as an all-star at second base. Ahmed Rosario, who could play shortstop and center field, right? He's basically a 300 hitter. He's 280, 290 around that range. The Cleveland Guardians, they have some nice young players coming up. You guys, they have a real good starting rotation with their 1 and 2. You got Cal Quantrill, who looks like a stud. Their bullpen is phenomenal. I forgot their closer's name. It's escaping me.
Classic.
Oh yeah, Emmanuel Classe, he who looks like one of the top closers in baseball. I actually have him on my MLB The Show Diamond Dynasty team, so I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, Cleveland is a team I do not want to face in the postseason. Halal, it has to be Tampa Bay, or if not, I'm going to be scared when it comes to Cleveland.
Yeah, they're both of the teams. They're very even teams in
Hmm.
different ways, but yeah, it'll be intriguing. I'm looking forward to a great postseason, and it's every team in the postseason this year has a legitimate places, and I'm excited.
My man Tat said, "We're New York. We fear nobody." No, I agree with you. I agree with you. But if I had to fear somebody, it would be Terry Francona and the Cleveland Guardians because Terry Francona, he's broke our hearts so many times before, as Yankee fans. You remember his early days with the Red Sox back in '04. Yeah, so Terry Francona has a history of making us Yankee fans cry. But I agree with you, Tat. I don't fear nobody when it comes to this postseason because when you look at these matchups, right? Seattle and Toronto, I think that series is going to go to Seattle. I think Seattle has that in the bag. Seattle has better starting pitching, and Seattle has probably the best bullpen in all of Major League Baseball, if you ask
Yeah.
me. That's just my opinion. But when it comes to the Tampa Bay and Cleveland series, I see that going because it's what 3 games that they have that they play each other. Yeah, so they got 3 games they got to play each other. But when you look over to the National League, right, the Mets have to face the San Diego Padres, right? The Mets right now, especially with Jacob DeGrom, who's been struggling his last few starts. I'm not sure if you saw it, Halal, but there's conversations that the Mets they will make DeGrom the third starter. What's your thoughts on that, real quick?
It's so weird. I don't understand. It's I mean, DeGrom hasn't been great, but I feel like when the postseason comes, you got to reset, get the
Mhm.
confidence up there. You got to go rely on your guy because if the Mets lose in 2 games, then Buck Showalter's going to get a lot of blame for not putting DeGrom in game 2. So you're just saying, I don't know, if you're Buck Showalter has great baseball minds, and I can't even challenge him to anything. So I think that maybe game 3 is probably not that good anymore. But in the mind game of a baseball manager, Buck Showalter definitely has something going on there that he has a good strategy on. Maybe the
Mm.
numbers that I just haven't seen, but yeah, Buck Showalter definitely has something cooking.
Yeah, I just this thought process of having Scherzer be the number one starter and Chris Bassett be the number two starter, and then DeGrom, I don't like it. I think the Mets, they have to go with, if they're going to go with Scherzer one, at least have DeGrom be the second starter. You know, you cannot have DeGrom be the third starter. It's literally like, I'm not sure if people remember, but back, I think it was 2012 or 2013, Buck Showalter did a head scratching move also back then. There was an extra inning game that Buck Showalter decided to go to Ubaldo Jimenez instead of Zach Britton, who was the best closer in all of baseball, right? And when Buck Showalter did that, the Toronto Blue Jays answered and walked off the game and won the wild card game, right? So I think Buck Showalter needs to remember what happened back then and needs to go with his best guy. DeGrom is the best pitcher on this staff. Regardless if he's been struggling in his last few starts, Matt Scherzer hasn't been healthy, just like DeGrom hasn't been healthy this entire season, right? So when you look at the last 3 starts, you have a track record with DeGrom being your ace, you know, with this organization, especially over the past 3 seasons. So you have to start DeGrom in game 2. If you're not going to start him in game 1, at least game 2.
Yeah, I 100% agree because you know I hear if the Mets win game 1, then you put him for game 3 and go Bassett or Walker for game 2. But yeah, I think Carrasco deserves a spot if he's not hurt. I haven't seen
Mhm.
that, but he's been a solid contributor in the beginning part of the year. But yeah, I if the Mets win game 1, I'd be a little fine with him starting game 3 instead. But if they lose, I definitely think he's got to go game 2.
And I hope the Mets aren't game planning, right? This Jacob deGrom as the third starter, thinking that they're gonna win the first 2 games of the wild card game, and then they can use deGrom as game 1 for the NLDS. I hope that isn't the logic, right? Because you have to be able to beat the team that's in front of you. Why are you planning for the first round of the NLDS when you haven't even won the wild card round? Right. So that right there is a head scratcher to me, because when you look at it, if they win the first 2 games, that's beautiful. Now they got DeGrom set up for game 1 of the NLDS. But if you lose the first 2 games, you're going home and DeGrom's going to be home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I definitely think you got to play it, take it game by game, and if they win game 1, I definitely leave it for game 3. But if they lose game 1, he's got to start game 2.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. My man Tat says that's a terrible move for Buck if they do that. If that happens, Jake will walk. Yeah. If the Mets lose the first 2 games of the wild card series and go home and Jacob deGrom doesn't pitch not one pitch in the postseason, oh yeah, you could definitely put a bet in Vegas that Jacob deGrom will be walking in the offseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
If you was in his shoes, Halal, because whenever I have to talk about from a player's perspective, I always reference you and Frankie, because you guys go out there and you guys actually play. I just sit at home and play MLB The Show. You guys actually go out there and play. So I'm gonna ask you, if you being the starting pitcher as the ace of the team, right? You've been the ace for the team for the past 3 seasons. How, of course, you're gonna feel some type of way if you don't pitch at least one game in the first 2 in the postseason. What's your thoughts on that, real quick?
I'd be really really mad if that happens because look, it's not right because if you're the ace, let's say I'm going out there and it's game. I'm expecting to start for get the team started for the first game. Even if you have a bad start before that, like you got to have confidence in your ace. And if my manager didn't have confidence in me it just deflates. It deflates you. And if your manager doesn't have confidence in your number one starter, it deflates your whole team.
At 100%, bro. Can't disagree with you. Can't disagree with you on that. But now let's shift gears towards the Yankees, right? For game one, who are you starting? Nestor Cortez or Garrett Cole?
Or Luis Severino. Ooh, we got to talk about that. But
Luis Severino as well could be an option. But who are you starting? Oh, one second. Salute to my brother worldwide, Mayberry. Hope all is well. L. Hope all is well. But go ahead, brother. Who would you start in game one? Nestor Cortez, Garrett Cole, or Luis Severino?
So I personally am liking Severino, but it's gonna be Cole. Just knowing the Yankee system, it's gonna be Cole. I think it's definitely an interesting strategy because we have it would line him up to be good for game 5. So whoever you want pitching game 5 has got to go game 1. Whether that's Cortez, Severino, or Cole, whoever you want going for game 5, that they got to go game 1 with all the off days lined up.
Yeah, one thing that I could take away, not sure if you heard it or anybody else who watched Garrett Cole being asked that. Garrett Cole, the reporters, they asked him, what game would he like to start? What was his thoughts on possibly being a game 2 or game 3 starter? And I love the answer from Garrett Cole, because Garrett Cole flat out, when he came out there and said, listen, the Yankees paid me to win games, right? The Yankees didn't pay me to be the game 1 starter, the game 2 starter, the game 3 starter. The Yankees literally paid him to win games. And I appreciate that answer from Garrett Cole, because if it was up to me, I'm starting Nestor Cortez game 1, right? Get that out the way. Garrett Cole game 2, and then Luis Severino game 3.
That's a perfect lineup. You could sweep with that.
Yeah, that's how I'm lining it up. One, it takes pressure off of Garrett Cole to be the number 1 starter, right? Nestor Cortez, we already know Nestor Cortez is going to give you 6 solid innings of probably run or 2-run baseball, right? So if we could get 6 to 7 innings from Nestor Cortez handed over to the bullpen, we're in pretty good shape. And then for game 2, if Garrett Cole could pitch a 7 or 8 strong innings, we're in great shape for game 3 with Luis Severino.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like just daydreaming about this, sitting back on my couch watching Severino get fired up in the Nestor Cortez do his whole funky wind up. But yeah.
And then, this is, to Worldwide L's credit, he says Cortez has been the best all year. And that is so true. Cortez, this is probably the best single season that a Yankees pitcher has had since Whitey Ford. If you look at the ERA, if you look at the strikeouts, Nestor Cortez has the lowest ERA since Whitey Ford, since one of the greatest Yankees to ever pitch. So I think you should reward Nestor Cortez for being the best pitcher on this team by starting him in game 1 of the postseason.
Yeah, definitely. Like I like comparing. Like if I were to pick one pitcher to compare myself to, obviously want to pick a right-hand pitcher. I'm a right-hand pitcher, but for forget Nestor's a left-hand pitcher. Let's say he's a right. I like his game style. That's what I try to do. I try to be not tense, just pull up, do your job, and have fun. Don't overthink.
Yeah, and I think Nestor Cortez, he has the personality to do that, right? Nestor Cortez comes from humble beginnings, right? We all know Nestor Cortez struggles that he had when he first got signed to the major leagues. But Nestor Cortez, he's battled every season, every level he's been at. He was the best pitcher at every level, right? He came up to the major leagues. He had a rough transitions into the major league, but once he figured it out, he was able to figure it out. And he's very smart. He's a very smart human being. Like when he attacks the strike zone, he's not just, all right, this is my fastball and I'm throwing it by you. No, he attacks it precisely. As a pitcher, he plays the inside and the outside very well. He changes speed. He changes arm angles. Like Nestor Cortez could literally be the best postseason starter that the Yankees have seen since El Duque.
Yeah, it's definitely intriguing because he brings the right attitude to the team. He brings the energy, and if they're gonna mic up a pitcher in the postseason, it's gotta be Cortez.
Oh yeah, definitely, because I love that at the All-Star game with him and Trevino being
they
mic'd
won't
up.
do that for the postseason, but
no, I know they won't
during warm-ups or what they did for Wayno.
Honestly, I think and I was talking to Jiggaman about this after the All-Star break, but that interaction, right? Seeing that as a fan, right? We never got to see that before, right? I honestly wish that MLB could try to figure out a way to implement that next season. so the catcher and the pitcher could be mic'd up certain games so you could get that interaction. I think how Major League Baseball wins fans over for next season or the new generation of fans is try to figure out a way to incorporate a new technology, right? Try to figure out the way to incorporate the miking up, right? Try to get a way so the fans could get an inside view of what's happening on the field, because that's what we're missing, right? We're missing that back and forth between Trevino and Nestor Cortez. We're missing that interaction between Aaron Judge and a fan sitting in the outfield bleachers because we don't have that mic. So what's your thoughts on that real quick going forward?
Yeah, after a team clinches the playoffs. Like yesterday's game on yes, like obviously it wasn't so entertaining because they clinched. Judge hit 62. There's no reason to be watching. It's basically the equivalent to a spring training game. So I think after a team clinches and there's nothing on the line, they gotta mic people up. Like it would have been cool if they had Judge mic'd up in the dugout yesterday, or just like something like that. That would have just been cool. And I think MLB's got to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to get your thoughts on this real quick before we dip out, because we could never have nothing nice when it comes to certain topics and stuff like that. But Aaron Judge hitting 62 and people complaining that the coverage of Aaron Judge wasn't the best coverage out there, right? You as a Yankee fan that's watched every game, did you feel that Judge didn't get the proper coverage during this home run chase for 62? Because I personally think the opposite. I think it was more than enough. They was cutting into every game. You seen college football fans lose their minds on Saturday because they cut into college football. They split it in half. But what's your thoughts on this little talking point that it's not covered properly or Aaron Judge isn't properly praised for what he's doing?
It's been more than enough. He's been treated completely fine. Over the top, maybe even every time. I can tell you what Michael K says every time, and they change the logo on. They're like, for anybody watching nationally, we welcome you to the S Network. I'm Michael K, David Cohen, Paul O'Neill. Welcome it. He does it. He must have said that 400 times, but
Yeah.
it's. Michael K even said on an interview like it got old at one point.
Oh, I got Maria. Maria, I'm sorry, I didn't even see you in the chat. Maria, what is good, Maria? Hope all is well. NY Yankee King is in the building. The king of Long Island, whether it's Norfolk or Suffolk, that's the king right there. But yeah, I honestly felt it was more than enough, right? Aaron Judge comes from humble beginnings himself. This was a young man that he was put up for adoption. He was adopted by two great parents, his mother and father, who adopted him. Phenomenal parents. They did a phenomenal job with him. He comes from a religious home. He has a good head on his shoulder. He's prototypical. If you had to make a carbon copy of who you wanted to be the perfect representation for the sport of baseball, it's Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is the perfect representation for the game of baseball. The way that Aaron Judge goes about his work, the way that he interacts with the fan, he takes his time to talk to every young kid that he sees waiting for an autograph. So Aaron Judge, not just being the best season overall as a baseball player, but for just being probably one of the best human beings to play this sport. Halal, it's about to be that time. What's your final thoughts before we dip out, brother?
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. I gotta tag one thing. I'm trying to get my Twitter following up. So just
Go ahead, babe.
Backstage Ball, just type that in and hit me up on there. I'll follow you back if you do follow me. So I appreciate that if you do. Hector, thanks so much for having me on. I have a bunch of days off from school coming up. So if we can arrange something where I can be on more, that'd definitely be exciting. I'd love to hop on here on the postseason. I'm gonna tag you. I want to have you on my show so we can get you some more publicity. And I want more people to be on the show because it's a great way to start off your morning. And thank you so much for having me on. And yeah,
I
gotta
allow
go
you. You already know you have a great fight. You and your family have a great time out there on the West Coast because you will be out there for the NLDS series and stuff. I wish you all the best of fun. Halal as well. There's an open panel policy. Anytime you want to come on, you're more than welcome to come on, my guy.
Thank you so much.
Peace, baby. Peace, baby. My people in the chat, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Everybody who came up. Pinstripe Chronicles. Can't wait for that, that roundtable tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting conversation. Maria as well. Appreciate you, Maria, and all the time, all the love and support that you show. My brother Worldwide, Mayberry with the For the Love of the Game crew. Shout out to my bro Hardwell and Worldwide L doing their thing over there. Mikey Maz and the Ford Train Express. I see you, baby. Frankie, hey yo, Frankie. Frank Rivera, what it do? But guys, this has been another awesome episode of the Yankees Morning Brew. I am your host, Hector, aka Project Nerd HQ, and we are out. And like always, a peace.
Driven deep in the right center field. That ball is makes a leaping play. Yankees making a statement. Rounded to third. There's one. There's two. It's a triple play. The 2-1. High fly ball. Deep right center.